All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 122 of the KissFAQ podcast. I'm your host today, admin on the FAQ message board, Julian Gill. I am joined by Marcus Almighty. Mark, get back here. Okay, we were joined by Marcus Almighty, and he's back.
Sorry,
nice.
I have to get the door.
Lonnie, St. Louis Kiss, and 69th Blizzard, Ken. Oh, yeah. Wow, now we sold two.
All right.
We sold two shirts.
I was telling someone last night, I was having to relive that Odyssey T-shirt story, and I was going to say that I hadn't really shown it or done anything until I'd gotten to wash it once to see if it would survive before promoting it a little bit more, and mine survived the first wash, so there is hope. I was actually wearing mine
inside out.
Last episode with Lonnie. I was actually wearing mine, but I didn't come up in the.
You were wearing it.
You might have just seen a little bit of it, but
I did see that.
There we go. Okay, so let's get some stuff out of the way first. Let me thank you. This is effort I am trying to coordinate on the FAQ message board. Head over there to general admission, and you don't have to be a member to read it. Let me thank you. Peter Criss is, of course, playing his final live performance ever. That's what he says now, as obviously Kiss said they were saying farewell in 2000, so who knows what the future may bring, but this is supposed to be his last ever performance in June. He wants to go out his way, and what I want to do is coordinate an effort by fans, handwritten notes to the Catman. I've got an email address in there for you to scan your handwritten note, and I will have these digitized and have them bound into a book to get to him. May not be able to give it to him myself, may have to send it to his address, and it's not about that. There's going to be no commercials in it, no ads, no freaking mention of any websites or personalities. It is strictly handwritten notes, and one came in the post today. I'm surprised how poorly this is doing so far, but just something that looks like that. Open up your copy of Alive, look at the handwritten notes that were put in there, something like that. If Peter Criss, the Catman, has inspired you, means something to you, you want to say something positive as a thank you to Peter for his career and the music that is a soundtrack to our lives, then let me thank you. I will thank you as well for submitting these. We only have a short amount of time in order to get this ready for the mid-June date, so do not delay, do not vacillate, do not procrastinate. Write something from your heart to Peter, and if you've got nothing good to say, don't do it, because I will not put in any messages that bag on any other member of the band or anything. This is only about Peter Criss, only about him. It's not about Carbon Kitties, it's not about Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's not about Gina Paul. Peter Criss. So I would love for as many fans, we got to get a stack so we can actually make it into a nice book to give to Peter so that he's got something from the fans. We all talk about him. So please check out that thread on the FAQ and on Facebook and send me something. You can fax it, you can email it, you can snail mail it to me, and we'll get it put together. And only people who contribute will be offered the chance to buy a copy of the book for themselves. It will not be distributed. Again, zero profit being generated. You'll buy it at cost, you'll pay your postage, boom, that's it. All right, so Mark, you had some fun this week, didn't you? You got to do something that, as album collectors, all of us are into vinyl and collecting, and you actually got to see a side of that not many people get to see. So tell us about that with your own album, but give us the inside.
Yeah, so as you all know, I had an album come out not long ago called Ordinary Day. And I decided that since the reaction was so good that I was going to get it pressed onto vinyl now. So I was fortunate enough, because I've been told even by the people who do this process that they don't usually let people go in to these sessions because there's a little bit of, attention to detail needed, and they don't want people going, oh, by the way, what does this knob do? And next thing you know, they're like, shut up and get out, you know what I mean? Because, they have to focus on what they're doing, right? So I went in to Lacquer Channel, and there is the picture. I put up some of these on my Facebook, but there's a picture of the cutting machine, the lathe that they used for it. And it's a very interesting process. Basically, I had to give him my files, right? Because I didn't put the finished stuff on reel-to-reel because I don't have a 2-track quarter-inch machine. So I gave him on a CD my 24-bit 94 kilohertz files. He brought it in, put it on his system, and of course, when you master for vinyl, you have to do it differently than CD. CD can take a lot more frequencies, can tolerate it a lot better. If you try to put some of those high-end frequencies through that late needle, you'll see smoke coming up and people running for fire extinguishers. So you don't want to do something like that, right? And there's another picture of his actual workstation. So you can see that there's analog gear there in amongst the digital, right? Like he has analog equalizers and stuff like that.
Does he use Pro Tools or anything like that?
Yeah, he has Pro Tools. The songs are actually like put in on the Pro Tools, and he does little changes within the EQ on the analog stuff that he has there on the board, and then he also does maybe like some shelving EQing, but he does that with some of the Pro Tools stuff too. It's a mix of stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, in a perfect world, sure, we would have all analog gear and all, you know, it wouldn't touch anything digital, but that's not how it happens. And by the time it was ready, he did a test run of it. He found like a kind of a slightly defective version of a lacquer, put it on, and he did like little 30-second drops of the songs. So we listened to it, played it back on his stereo there. I think I even have a picture of his fantastic referencing turntable there that he has there. Just like a standard sort of turntable.
That's the same as mine. That's...
Yeah, because he said, let's put it this way. He said, if it doesn't sound good on these turntables, it's not going to sound good on any turntable, right? Yeah. So
sure.
He made a couple of drops. We listened to it, and it started turning out really good. There was just a couple of things here and there that needed adjusting, like some of the high frequencies just need a little bit of a pull down. But other than that, it was pretty much good to go. Then he got a proper acetate lacquer out, and he cut me what's called a reference lacquer.
Pressing.
Yeah, which is here.
Well, it's not a pressing because it was cut. Difference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is for reference only, right? So I hand wrote all that mumbo jumbo on there, right? But this, you can take it home. It's not recommended that you play this very often. This is supposed to be mainly just for reference. Listen to it. Yep. If it's good enough to go, 1 or 2 complete listens, and then you should put it away, and that's the end of it. And if it's good, he takes a 14-inch. This is a 12-inch, like a proper 12-inch, but they cut it on 14-inch, which is a bit bigger, right, for the final. And then when it's done, they ship it off to New Jersey, where all the metal parts are done, and it gets sent off to the pressing plant, and I await my black and turquoise blue colored vinyl version of the album.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still electroplating to go to make the stampers and all of that, which is really cool. It's just nice, obviously I'm still into your CD, Mark, so I every chance I get to kind of bring it up and just, hopefully people who haven't heard it get interested in it. But, as collectors, to actually hear about the process of how something goes in. Many of us have owned acetates, and to hear what they're used for, their purpose, and how they're created. They're still created very much the same way as they were in the early 70s when Kiss's first ones were, without a lot of the electronic. I mean, they would have been watching red dials, right? Or oscilloscopes, if I can say it correctly, to check the frequency boundaries of what they were looking for coming in. So that's very cool. So let's move on. And last week, Lonnie and I did an episode about Julian's adventures in Reno. Thank you very much again for hosting that, Lonnie. It was a little bit like 2 hosts in one show at times. But, we've had 1,000 views of that. So I think people really enjoyed the opportunity to, see a lot of and hear a lot of the multimedia that was captured for that episode and really dig into kind of my opinion on the show. Ken and Mark weren't able to join at that time, so we're going to, kind of revisit and pick up where we left off, talking about Kiss Live in 2017. Kiss has now arrived in Europe. They played their first show in Moscow on May Day, and that one went pretty well. That show is already up on Dime, and so is the one from Reno, for that matter, now. So people can go out there and hear these shows. I listened to Moscow yesterday, and I thought the recording wasn't as good as Reno. It's a little bit more distant. But you hear a lot of the same things with particularly Paul's voice, again, being the elephant in the room, and some of the video out of Finland. Have any of you been watching, Lonnie? Have you been watching Facebook today, waiting for any news out of Helsinki?
On my 2 monitors here at my desk, I have work going on one and kind of updating Helsinki on the other one. When I get a spare moment just to see what it's doing. So it looked like it was the same set list as Moscow. I was really interested to see if they were to switch anything up or move anything around or insert anything or delete anything. Because, and we've seen it before when tours kick off, that the first couple shows are really kind of, especially the first couple shows of a tour, especially with Kiss right now, who hasn't really toured much at all for the last 6 months or so. They kind of try some things out and see, well, that didn't work, just to see if they thought something didn't really work real well in Moscow or not, and then take it out. But they stuck with the same set list, which is interesting, and it's not at the same time, because Kiss has really become, pretty set in what they're doing. So it was interesting that they kept it the same, that nothing got moved around after the first show of the European tour. But
yep, that's really cool. One of the great things I heard out of Finland today, I haven't verified this yet, was that they did "Tears Are Falling" at a meet and greet.
Oh, really?
And I was like toddler temper tantrum guy. I was like, but
I thought
they did
right away based on that.
they didn't do that at mine, you bastards.
Right.
Ken, have you been watching Facebook today to see what's going on?
Yeah, just poking around, looking. I mean, it looks like. I mean, I saw the pictures of the arena. I mean, they're packing them in, pretty good, obviously. And they don't go there every year or anything like that. But still, it's nice to see that they can, still fill an arena, a big arena up. But as far as the set list, it's the same as the Moscow one, right? So. It would be nice if they threw some other things in. It's close to the Reno show, though, right? The set list, it's very close to that one.
It's very close. It does not
Except
have
Hide Your Heart.
Hide Your Heart, which
that's weird.
Disappointed in that.
And
actually, it'd be cool to have Crazy Nights and Hide Your Heart in there.
Yeah.
That was cool about that Reno set.
So instead of that, they basically switched out "Hide Your Heart" for "I Was Made for Loving You," and the one thing that was the first track I listened to yesterday of Moscow, and I put a brief sample of it up in the Helsinki thread on the FAQ, and you can barely hear Paul at the beginning of that. He is like so low. They come into the first chorus, and everyone else is loud. So I mean, he's really trying to keep control of his voice there, and it was very noticeable. I wish they could have boosted his volume, because he was doing well, I thought, and I actually overlaid quite a bit of the show with an audience track to try and get a better feel for it in person. I thought it sounded great. It's got the same weak parts as ever. Mark, what have you been finding for Facebook today?
Well, I've been looking through all kinds of different files and stuff like that for the shows, and they have a 4K version of the Moscow show up on YouTube.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the whole show is actually. I keep forgetting to download
the whole entire show is on there, and it's really good. Let's put it this way: we already know what the flaws are going to be. We know Paul's having difficulty with his voice, and it's not going to be the same as it was back when a couple of years back, or even 10 years back. But it's still an entertaining show. They've done a few different things. I mean, Gene's going up there into the rafters now for War Machine instead of the usual kind of, whatever he usually does it for. And I think they changed Paul's "I'm Coming Out and See You" song as well. Usually it used to be Love Gun. I don't think he's doing it on Love Gun anymore. He's doing it on something else because...
Psycho Circus.
Yeah, that's it. Because he also goes out...
Psycho Circus.
Yeah, because he's also out there on that rotating platform for Black Diamond as well. He starts the song out there and spinning around there, and the light disco bulbs going all nuts and stuff, right? But I thought overall the show was what I expected of a first show. There was a little bit of sound issues. Sometimes I found out Eric Singer's drums were a teensy bit low in the mix, but all these things are adjusted on the fly. It's the first show. It's new gear sometimes when they're bringing this stuff on tour, so they have to work out some of the bugs sometimes. So you can't expect it to be how it's going to sound, 20 shows in either, right? So I think it was pretty good. Yeah, there's some concern about Paul singing again, but he entertained the crowd. The people were into it. I thought Gene did really good. I thought Tommy played pretty good. He had the same sort of shtick with his solo again, but whatever. This is Kiss. What are you expecting? He's not going to come out and I don't know what they're expecting. He's not going to come out in a hot air balloon and go in the middle of the crowd and do his guitar solo like that out there. He's going to do what he normally does, right? So, and
they're not reinventing the wheel at this point.
Yeah,
exactly.
That was actually a proposed special effect on one of the tours, a balloon that they could put on a string and send across and shoot down. Send across.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think.
Shoot the balloon down?
Yeah.
Or shoot
the balloon down.
Go to Germany and shoot a Zeppelin down?
Wow.
You went there, didn't you?
You had to go there.
Wah,
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but I thought it was pretty good. I thought that for a first show, I thought they did pretty good. And me, I'm usually one to pick out everything and start, finger pointing at everything. So I thought it was pretty good.
So I thought that was really unusual, that, to have Paul doing the flying bit for, Psycho Circus. And I'm downloading that.
Never done that
4K show right now. I'm gonna watch that later. But it looked like, and this is what surprised me the most. When we spoke last week, Lonnie, I was saying how Spartan the stage was. It basically looked like a bunch of plumber's pipe, and
right.
and with some flash pots and that. The stage is pretty Spartan in Europe as well. I've got to say, I'm just looking at a picture on the FAQ thread right now. There's a great shot. They've got the Kiss Army banners. What I said was missing last week. There were no Kiss Army banners, so at least I know they only got 2, and they had already been sent to Europe. The other thing is, it's very similar to the Las Vegas, to the Reno stage in that kind of metallic effect stuff, though there weren't the video screens flashing Kiss logo like Mark's showing you right now between the border. But what other people have noticed is the cherry pickers are absolutely mammoth. And someone said they probably bought them from Motley Crue from their farewell tour. But Lonnie, after us talking last week, what do you think about the stage that they've taken?
I was glad. Again, I was glad to see those Kiss Army banners in the background. That just really adds to it, especially when the band's getting ready to come out and the black Kiss curtains down, and you have the Kiss Army banners on each side. It just feels like you're in your element as a Kiss fan. You know what I mean? And even when the show's going on, those Army banners on each side, it makes you proud to be there, in my opinion. But again, with just an empty stage, it really isn't very, very Kiss-like. That there's not something going on. I was really hoping that since they're wearing the Creatures outfits, that they would have some kind of resemblance of a Creature stage with the tank. I mean, fans have been asking for the tank for years. It would have been great to see a full-fledged version of it. I mean, we got that mini version of it on the cruise, but to see a full-fledged Creatures type stage with the Creatures outfits, I think really would have gotten hardcore Kiss fans at least excited.
But Kiss being Kiss, they probably would have based it off a German tank and shown up in Moscow and
Panzer tank. Yeah.
Maybe this isn't in good taste that we do this.
Too much War Machine.
Back to the Zeppelin thing. But it would have been great to see it. The average Kiss fan might have just looked at it. And says, "Oh, well, that's a really cool stage. Look, there's a tank on the stage." But the hardcore fan mind would have exploded if that curtain would have dropped and there's the Creature stage recreated with the Creatures outfits.
Yeah. So, but you know what? That's one of the things though that maybe we're not keeping in mind here though, is when was the last time they played Russia, right? Maybe to them, all these people that are in the audience now could be newcomers to Kiss in concert in general, And to them, anything will be like absolutely fantastic. I mean, I know they've been to Europe quite a few times, so it's not like it's going to be totally new to people around Europe. But they don't get to see Kiss as often as we do in North America here, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so when was the last time in Russia? I think
2008.
2008. Yeah, St. Petersburg, Moscow.
God, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, and they were in Finland in 2013. So it's been a good few years. I'm just looking at Saku is who posted about Tears Are Falling. He did his meet and greet with the band, and they're using a pretty cool background this time. And Gene actually, he obviously passed the T-shirt test because the band actually looks like they're not uncomfortable with him in the picture. So that's very neat. But and Mark, thank you for showing me the intro to the show, because they're doing the same old, coming down on the hovercraft. What I liked immediately about the entrance was Paul's playing his flag guitar on the entrance.
Yeah.
So he had the Russian flag one, and I gotta say it looked neat. As much as I hate the gimmick and it's just stage played $10,000 guitar shit, which just bothers me, it's cool how he's doing it. So straight off the bat, someone who's going to buy that, which will probably be some $10 billion oligarch who didn't actually go to the show, paid someone to go for him to pick up his guitar so he can hang it on the wall. They're going to see their guitar first thing at the top of the show. I think they were saying that in Helsinki tonight. The backdrop came down early or something, screwed up at the beginning of the show. So, Ken, thoughts?
I think why the stage is so sparse or what, maybe it's Las Vegas or like you said Reno, is this they can't afford or don't want to spend the money to bring a stage, ship a stage over to Europe somewhere, and they got that way too back in like the 80s when they were having trouble and trying to bring stages over there. I can't remember though they did bring
Budokan. I remember that there was something about that. I remember in that Budokan DVD that they have on the Kissology, when they're playing there, they said that apparently they just had a drum kit given to Eric Carr from Tama there, or Ludwig, or whoever was with them. He constructed it there a few days before the shows. They put all the stickers on it, and then they just rented like every possible Marshall cabinet on the island and brought it on stage, and that's how they constructed their stage. They probably didn't want to haul all that crap over because cargo costs a lot of money. I don't know if people realize that. Like if you're shipping over a whole bunch of gear over, look at the best thing I'll give you. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, Ken, but the best video, if you want to get a good sense of this, Iron Maiden, their last couple of tour videos that they've put out on the DVD, they have a good bonus documentary all the time showing the planes that they use, the Ed Force Ones, and how they pack it and bring their own stuff and what they can and what they can't bring. And you'll get a good idea of why they do that or why they can't bring what they can't bring, And it's a good thing to watch because then you'll get an idea. Well, now I know why they don't have this, or they couldn't bring Eddie to this part of the world and they did here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw that. I think I know what documentary you're talking about because that's a real good one.
Flight 666.
From some years back. I think that's it. Yeah, that
There's
one.
a couple of them that they had like that.
Yeah. So it was very interesting. It was a good video. But the other thing is the stage. I think they're due for, hopefully, if they come back to do a U.S. tour this year or next year, I think they're due for a stage change. Need to do a little bit of some new design. I think you need something.
Julian says no.
I want something a little flashy and.
No, I want the Revenge Tour
original. Stage. I want something original. Oh, the very first stage. Well, if you're gonna heck of the first stage, use the outfits from that. Let's go back. If you can go, you do Creatures outfits. Let's go back to the first album outfit, first tour.
Yeah, those were very comfortable.
Why not?
In terms of staging, if they do anything in the States, I'd like to see them kind of update the Revenge stage and get that out of storage, unless it was broken down for scrap or sold on eBay.
Except for the flipping finger part.
No, you gotta have that now. She's gotta have two arms.
to the rest of the world. Yeah,
Just-
that's really good.
FTW. Because then I get to see the Revenge tour stage, and I'm happy. So
Yes.
Well, yeah, you've never seen it, so.
and if you mix the Revenge outfits with the Revenge outfits with the I can't speak worth shit.
The creatures outfits of the Revenge stages. I think. Is
Lonnie,
what
thank you for
Julian's trying
hosting. Take over.
to say. That'd be a great
that
combination.
That would
Think
work,
about that.
actually.
Those are kick-ass outfits with that Revenge stage.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Yep. Actually, take over, Lonnie. I got the door.
All right. Julian's probably has a
Special
gift from
delivery.
Amazon. And but no, I think that'd be cool. I mean, if you're talking about if we want to talk about recreating some stages, we mentioned creatures want to be cool, but I think just aside from how you may or may not feel about the Revenge album, I think the Revenge stage is one of the cooler stages they ever brought out, though. I think that'd be, and it's not necessarily specific to the album like Hot in the Shade was. They could tour with that Revenge stage today, and it would still look cool.
Yeah, because they had all those little catwalks and they had that little old style light with that, those old street signs underneath it and stuff. It looked like an old decayed, city or something that they were playing in, right? And I always thought that was a good design too, because they had microphones all over the place along the stage, so you would never be out of position for backing vocals. And I thought that was always pretty smart to do stuff like that.
That was really great too, because that's back more when they were running around on stage too, and no matter where they were, they could pick up the backing vocals no matter where they were, and they didn't have to rush back to a certain position. So,
Yeah,
but no, Julian,
exactly.
what'd you get today?
Oh,
Gene Simmons.
Oh,
all right. I owe you money,
Yep.
Julian.
I got three.
There you
There's going to be someone else with us. I don't know who yet, but
Oh, okay.
what I missed? What were you talking about?
we're still going off your idea with the Revenge stage. I think that's a great idea. Of course, that's what we're talking about. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I was watching.
I think I switched topics that quick.
What was that last Rush DVD, Mark? That basically was the last tour, and their stage sets started at the end and worked back.
Oh, yeah.
Their most recent, so it was Clockwork Angels, back into Snakes and Arrows, etc. Working back to Working Man. For their very last show in Los Angeles, and then right after that they played like 12 bars of Garden Party or Fancy Dancer. So the pre, one of the 4 songs that they cut along with Not Fade Away, and I never remember the B-side of that single. So Kiss can never do anything really like that because of the stages that they've had have been so dynamically different, but it would be really cool in a way if they do tour in the United States to try and bring some of the elements of tours gone by, back into the picture. I mean, you've got the really massive backdrops with Miss Liberty or whatever she was for Revenge, and Leon could always be done as a backdrop so that you're not lugging around a mechanical, with a Velcro mount for them to come to, something very Spinal Tap-ish. I'd like to see the band pulling out some of these elements, even maybe the Crazy Nights, the metallic, the big like saucer kind of that surrounded Eric's drums, for that it would be nice to see them doing something a little bit more involved than recent stages. And Reno, understandably, for the sort of gig that it was, I wasn't expecting much. That's as close as I'll ever get, I guess, to feeling like I saw the band in 1974 with not much of a show and just a drum lifter, and no cherry. There were cherry pickers, but it was very.
Yeah. You know what though? It's funny that you mentioned about how Kiss can't do that kind of a stage show like Rush did, but you know what they could do is the same thing with kind of what Yes is doing this summer for their tour. They have something coming out called Yestival, where they're doing a tour with a bunch of other acts. But their big thing that all Yes fans are going crazy over is that they're going to be playing 1 or 2 songs from their album. So every album that they put out from the very beginning to that point, they're playing at least a song or 2 off of it. Now, I know Kiss fans, if they heard the going to do a tour where they play one or two every record from, let's say, Kiss to, let's say, Asylum, people will be loving it because you'll be hearing so many possible songs that you didn't get to hear before. Why not just do that? That doesn't require any bringing of any extra equipment. That's just you learning songs, right? So,
yeah. But when Julie and I were going through the set list from Reno last week, we were going through it and we were like, well, like, what was it? Like the first 8 songs almost were like 8 songs off of 8 different albums.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really impressive when you dissected it and went through it like that. Because they had Hide Your Heart, you had Crazy Nights, you had Douche, you had Shout It Out Loud, you had there were a few others in there too that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head.
But people were happy about that from what I remember.
Oh, yeah.
They were saying, "Oh,
Psycho
wow, this is
Psycho
great."
Circus. That's there's another one off a different album. Say Yeah, another one off a different album. They touched on quite a few different periods of the band, but still kept it in a sense where the casual fan is still happy because I'm still hearing the few songs that I do know when I walked in the door.
Oh, hey!
Hello,
stranger. How are you?
Hi there.
It must be very, very
I'm good.
late, and your ears must be very, very numb.
But I feel great.
So, joining us from Helsinki, Alain. Thank you.
Fresh off the
Hello.
show.
Hey, Alan.
Hi
Hey, Alan.
there, everyone.
What's up?
Good to be here.
So we've just been analyzing YouTube video from Helsinki and Moscow, but
That's how pathetic we are.
and now our video is going to jump around a little bit with all of us on the show. So you went to the show tonight in Helsinki, is that right? And did you go to Moscow, or is this the first show that you caught?
No, I arrived in Helsinki this afternoon and I went to the show tonight. So that's my first show of the tour. Their second.
You must be tired.
I am tired, but I'm glad I was actually the most tired was during the show. Now I actually feel fine. It's wake up time for Tokyo, but it's 1:30 a.m. now after in Helsinki.
So I don't want to keep you on too late because it's obviously already late. Let's get your thoughts on the show. I went to one a couple weeks ago, and I did a long episode last week where I sang the praises of still seeing Kiss live in 2017. How do you feel? You've just flown from Japan to Helsinki to see them. Tell us about the show tonight.
Well, maybe you can see the grin on my face. That says it all. It's always fantastic to see them. You just realize that. The band I picked up in 1979, I'm lucky enough to see them again in 2017. And just seeing them, being close to them and watching them and hearing the songs we all know, it's just a great feeling. That's my first impression. I'd never seen the show with the screens. Like I'd never seen that. I missed it in Japan 2015, and so to me it was a first. And I thought it looked great. I don't know if you know. I don't know about the cranes. The lifts.
Mm-hmm.
They're very different now. I don't know if it's new. I didn't know. They're sort of kind of crossing each other towards the end, and they're going really.
They looked really big, and we mentioned that earlier. That some people think that they're the same ones that Motley Crue used on their farewell tour because they extend out far over the audience and then do the kind of the X, the crossover, which is really cool to see Kiss doing as well.
Yeah, and so they're really close to the I wouldn't say the first floor, but the people in the audience not on the floor section, the first floor, they're really almost really touching them, and it's a great effect, and I thought that was very cool for the audience. Much something new, something fresh is great.
Yeah, anything different. Now, it was Hartwell Arena, right?
Yes.
And you walk up to this, and on either side of the entrance, weren't there like these gigantic like pillars, or we saw some pictures of Paul Stanley posing in front of these statues with Kiss masks on.
I was just there after the show. It's actually at in the city center. They're at the train station. They're the four people. I guess they're famous in Finland. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with them. But yes, they put masks on those statues at the Helsinki train station.
Okay.
And it's a really big. They were actually showing footage of the band being there before the show started. I guess there were maybe news footage. So yeah, everyone's going there, and when we were there were fans posing under the mask. So it's really cool. There was a after show party at a club nearby the station. That's why I was still awake and I could come. They had some Kiss Army Finland had a party, so that was really cool.
So, Lonnie, why don't you everyone else get some questions in for Alain as well, so I don't dictate.
No.
Do you want to see the tour program?
Oh
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure.
In case anything I was going to ask, it's better than anything I was going to ask. Let's see the tour program.
All right, so there they are. You've probably seen them.
Yeah, I saw
The
the cover.
world tour. Yeah.
And it's I would say remarkably inexpensive. It's 15 euros.
Wow, that's
Which is
Wow,
about
that's pretty good.
$50.
that's about
$15 or so.
$17.
It has
Surprising.
I don't know, would probably say maybe 40 pages or so. It has this is the central cover,
Nice.
the centerfold, so to speak. I don't know if I can find. I haven't seen it. I'm just digging out of my bag. I haven't had a chance to flip it myself. But there are some pictures of.
That's a good one.
That's a
Of
good
Jane.
picture.
I like
Good one,
that.
Jane.
Yeah.
So it's good quality and relatively inexpensive for a Kiss Tour program, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
15 euros is dirt cheap. That's
Mhm.
amazing.
Okay, what else? Yeah, some cool
That's
shots here.
another good one of
Nice.
Gene. I like
You know, it
that.
reminds me of a little bit of the actual
That one's
Creatures
that
tour
one's-
book.
Oh
that's
my,
amazing.
that is good.
I think
Yeah.
they replicated the background.
They're yeah. It reminds me of the Creatures tour book. The way they've done some things in there.
With Vinny, right? It has the
That's
same.
interesting. That's a good idea, though.
Great looking.
Let's see if I can flip faster. That's Eric. Can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's nice.
I wasn't planning on getting this, but
Looks like it's
Yeah.
worth
Like he has a
getting.
spare. Looks like he
yeah.
has a spare.
Plus, you need to scan it into PDF.
Well, I do always do that.
I know.
Cool. There you go. There they are.
Well, I hope the video stayed on you with Skype. We just never know how it's going to flip around. And if perchance it went to one of us oohing and ahhing while Alan was flipping, we do apologize. But we certainly we certainly enjoyed the
Yeah.
the
have
flip
to buy
through
your
the
own,
tour
I
book.
guess.
And all you can say is my reaction. I think probably says it all, as does all of ours. We were oohing and ahhing, and there are a lot of really cool photos in that. So good job to the guys who put that together as well. Can't wait. I'm gonna
Yeah,
definitely get
that's a
one.
nice little sneak peek. I think that's more than anybody's seen of that program so
Hey,
far.
Alan. Hey,
Yes.
Alan. Did they? What were the T-shirt selections like?
How many? There were about 5 or 6 different motifs. I didn't buy any.
I saw a picture of them. Someone posted a picture of the
Yeah,
the
I've seen
booth.
I saw the merch.
And
booth
those
earlier
those shirts. I don't think I would have bought any of those shirts.
Yeah, they have the European tour dates at the back, and they're kind of generic, I would say. Nothing
Not their best.
nothing to write home about.
What was there any like standout kind of merch things there that people would have went whoa, like impressed with, or?
No, I was actually surprised the merchandise store was relatively small. I compared to Japan, when you have you have probably double the size. Definitely
Mhm.
here it was a very small store. They had the drum heads. They had the drumsticks. They had caps.
and the usual T-shirts. But no, I didn't buy any of those.
So let's talk
Yet.
a little bit about the show itself. Lonnie and I last week, when we went through the set list that they did in Reno, I was amazed that we got through about 8 songs and there have been 8 albums. 8 different albums, a very diverse selection of songs. Did you enjoy the set, number one? And it pretty much the same as Reno, just with "Hide Your Heart" being replaced by "I Was Made for Loving You," and a little bit of the order change. How do you like the music?
I think it works. Obviously, as Gene said in an interview, they have to play the classics, and they're not going to vary. So I was surprised to see "Lick It Up" so early in the set. I was glad to hear "Flaming Youth" because it's not the one that you hear often. I know it's maybe a standard now, but it's always a pleasure to hear that one. I think they played it on the cruise, but I'm not 100% sure. And the encore. There are no spoilers. Is that okay? I mean, I think everybody knows by now.
Yeah. We're assuming that it was the same set as Moscow, and we don't have confirmation yet that that's the case.
But I didn't see anything about Moscow. I didn't want to have any. I wanted to have the surprise, but I was about to leave after Rock and Roll All Night.
Really?
Because that's where all the explosions go, and then they come back on stage and they do Detroit Rock City, "I Was Made for Loving You."
Oh, so they changed things.
So they switched it up.
Okay.
So then they end with Black Diamond at the end of the encore was.
No, at the end, after Black Diamond, they sing into Rock and Roll All Night, and then there are all the explosions and the confetti, and then you think it's over, but they come back for Detroit Rock City, "I Was Made for Loving You," and
they changed it, yeah.
What's the third one? Or maybe they finish with "I Was Made for Loving You."
Wow, that would be.
Yes, I think they end with "I Was Made."
That's interesting.
They ended with "I Was Made." Yeah.
Yeah, because on Moscow it says they have "Let Me Go Rock and Roll," "Psycho Circus," "Black Diamond," and then Detroit Rock City, "I Was Made for Loving You," and "Rock and Roll All Night."
Yeah.
Oh, that was absolutely not like that tonight. No.
Cool. Excellent.
I wonder if
That's very interesting.
It almost sounded like a mistake because Rock and Roll All Night, the confetti and all that, and then I'm on my way. I even saw Shannon leave, and then they come back on stage for 2 more. It was I don't know. Maybe it was a screw up. I don't know. But it was bizarre.
So did Paul fly tonight during Psycho Circus and go out to the mini stage then?
Yes, that's right. Yes, and he played Black Diamond as well. So he played 2 songs there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, here on Setlist, I'm looking at Setlist FM. They did end with "I Was Made for Loving You." That's crazy.
Interesting.
Wow.
It was a great. There's a great moment with the Kiss Army Finland. We actually, 4 of us, we held a woman in a wheelchair during "I Was Made for Loving You," because she was at the back, and when she heard the song, she went crazy, and her friend lifted the wheelchair, and I was just behind, so I lifted the wheelchair too, and we all held up the wheelchair for her during that song, and it was great, and really good performance too. Very good atmosphere. Very the arena was full. I don't know if you've seen pictures.
Yeah, I'll picture that.
Yeah.
It was filled. So it was a good night was had by all, as they say.
So I want to hit you for a couple of your high points. What right now is your best memory of this performance, of this show? What is the one thing that jumps into your head that is a wow?
Well, this is actually my 40th show today.
Wow.
So,
That's awesome.
So, I've seen a lot, but I will remember. A very tiny thing is that it's a never before seen footage during Flaming Youth. They're playing a video during Flaming Youth.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
And okay, so they're watching. They're showing pictures and footage.
Yeah.
There's a very rare Peter Criss live 1974-ish footage. That's played during. Yes, exactly. That's played during that moment. So we need to get to the bottom of that first.
Interesting.
Other than that, I loved to hear Flaming Youth because it's not a song you hear often.
No.
And The highlight, yes, I think probably would be I Was Made is a great song to finish a concert with.
That's different, yeah.
Yeah. I'm still, I can't kind of process that so far. I'm going to have to hear the show. Hopefully someone taped it so that we can, listen to that and get a feel for it. How did you enjoy stuff like Say Yeah?
Special mention for Crazy Crazy Nights. I also really liked it. I think it works very well in the crowd. What I was going to say Yeah, I think could have been replaced with something else.
That's kind of my feeling that's going to be the first one that kind of disappears from that set, unless the audiences really get into it and start helping Paul and shouting.
They have a lot of pyrotechnics for that one. And I saw that Hide Your Heart was written on the set list, but they didn't play it, obviously. So I don't know, they seem to have done really last minute decisions tonight. I'm not sure, but
you think there was some kind of curfew or something, or?
It could have been, because, as I said, singing quickly to Rock and Roll All Night and finishing, and then I don't know what they were thinking. It looked a bit bizarre. Yeah, they were late also setting up because the curtain failed twice. Up and it fell down. So we were very late also with the photo. The photo thing was also very late. So,
so you did the meet and greet. You did the meet and greet.
I didn't. No, I arrived too late. My plane landed really last minute. But I was able to do the photo with the band. Yes.
That's good. Cool.
Yeah, that was great. It's the best 1.5 seconds. It's just too fast. It's just way too fast. You're not realizing what's happening to you.
Yeah, that's one thing that struck me in Reno is how quickly it goes. Even though I had that kind of funny moment that added 2 seconds to my 1 second. Compared to 2003 and 2004, it was much less assembly line back then. You almost had a minute, a couple words with them, and then took your picture. I got to ask you about Paul. How did he do tonight? Are you looking for issues, or did you just see a man working hard, working the audience, doing what he's done for 45 years?
Yes. At one point during middle of the show, he goes into this rap. We don't know exactly where he's going, but he says, when you have your ass down when you watch TV, and you have your ass down when you read the newspaper, but when you rock and roll, everybody stand up, and everybody stood up within 2 seconds. So only Paul Stanley can have, 7,000-8,000 people stand up immediately when he tells them to do it. And he gives 100%. Unfortunately, the 100% doesn't sound good. I have to be honest. But you see that he's giving everything he's got, and he's still doing, an incredible job on stage. Unfortunately, the voice does not follow. It's noticeable. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah,
he's still got the passion and the spirit, and
yes,
and that is why I commend him and will continue to commend him for getting up there and trying to work as best he can. We talked about it last week on the show that there are parts in the songs where he used to sing high or do something, and now there's an explosion while he does it. It kind of, they're using to mask
it.
Where they can. Gene, I gotta say, sounds fantastic as well, but he doesn't move as much now, does he? So,
that's true.
Just give us your thoughts on it. You've talked about Paul. Just talk about Gene, Tommy, and Eric. What you feel about their performances tonight.
I thought Gene was fine. He's still, obviously, he can do facial expressions and play with the front row women and play at the same time and do the chorus and not miss a beat, which is quite remarkable. Eric, I always, of course, doing the solid backing vocals, which I think is doing a lot for the band at this stage.
Yeah.
And I found Tommy to be very comfortable in his role now. I think his suits him, and he's much more relaxed, much more in control. He sang "Shock Me," as you probably know. It's a great song, just a classic, never gets old. So yeah, I think the backing band is really solid.
What about? Did they start the show coming down on the on the little stage? I don't know what it's called. And was Paul playing the Finland guitar at the beginning of that? Yeah, he did in Moscow. He played the Russian flag.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up.
You broke up, Julian.
No, sorry.
Did he have the Finland guitar when he came down?
Yes. He played the Iceman with the Finland flag for the first 2-3 songs. Yeah, it looks great. I have to say.
What was the crowd's reaction? What was the crowd like? Were they really into it? Was there a certain part of the show or certain songs that they were really into? What was the crowd in Finland like?
Well, it's very different from the South American crowd, I'll have to say.
There's nothing much. I don't think there's much like the South American crowd.
Yeah, no, I found them personally. I've been in Finland for like 6 hours, so I really can't be doing any ethnographic work. But I found them very quiet. I think they were very quiet, and of course it got better towards the end. I think they warmed up when mid show Paul told them to stand up, and they stood up. But generally speaking, compared to the other crowds I've been in, especially in the floor section, I think they were like watching TV, really. They were like coming here for the spectacle. But again, I don't know.
Okay.
It's my first show in Finland. I don't know how they react usually. But it was very strange for me to observe them as well. But yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's interesting to hear that, because you hear some places in Europe, like in certain Scandinavian countries like Sweden, and that they're supposedly very crazy like about it. They get into it a lot. To hear that in Finland they're much more reserved is kind of surprising, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it will be very different in Stockholm in a couple of days.
So before I let you go, because let's not keep you up all night.
Thank you.
What other shows are you going to see while you're in Europe? And what's your next one?
Well, I did this crazy trip for just a few days, coinciding with the Japanese Golden Week holiday. So I'm just doing 2 shows. So I did Helsinki today, and I'll be going to Stockholm on Saturday, on the 6th, May 6th. So those 2, and then I'm flying back to Japan.
That's great. So, if I don't think we have any further questions, so why don't we let you go, Alain? Get some sleep. Thank you so much for calling in and giving everyone an update.
My pleasure.
Thanks for joining us.
And safe journey. So we'll see you again soon, okay?
Cheers. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Bye now.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Awesome. So that was
a treat.
Alain, who was not expecting to call in, and it's much better than us analyzing the pictures and what we have from the show. We still have opinions because we're Kiss fans, but there's someone who was at the show tonight, and who would have thought ending a Kiss show with "I Was Made for Loving You"? That sounds absolutely wild. And also that "Hide Your Heart" was on the set list but wasn't performed. So I haven't been over to Setlist FM. I always prefer to get the set lists after 23 revisions, which if they've already got it that it ends with "I Was Made," that's great. So any other change?
It definitely does sound like it definitely sounds like there was something going on with their time curfew, because when Alain said that they were running behind on the photos and the meet and greets, and that the curtain was giving them issues and stuff like that, it definitely sounds like they had to alter a few things to make it within their allotted time, right?
I don't know. That sounds to me like they got to be nicer to their crew, because the sound's been the sound's been messed up in Reno. The sound was messed up in Laughlin. They had issues. They've had issues now in Europe. Yeah, it sounds like they've got issues. You know, the spotlights aren't where they're supposed to be. Cues seem to be off. So stay the hell away from the pyro, guys.
Yeah.
I agree, Mark. It just looks like they thought that they weren't going to be able to do the encore, so they played Black Diamond and then played Rock and Roll All Night, and then went off stage and said, "Oh, screw it, we're going to go back out and play the other two songs we were going to play."
Yeah,
they did. I mean,
it's really what it kind of looks like.
They did 20 songs. I mean, they usually don't do that many these days.
Yeah, it's just that the way that the ordering was, it definitely kind of points towards them having to make a on-the-fly adjustment, because normally they would never end with that. And I guarantee you that'll probably be the last time you'll see them do "I Was Made for Loving You" last. I don't think in Stockholm they'll do that.
That's a unique show to see.
Is it possible that Paul's doing less rapping to save his voice, and that's shortening the show a little bit and allowing more time?
Enabling to play more songs?
Well, but I don't think it would change the arrangement.
Yeah, they didn't do. I don't think they performed 20 songs tonight. I think it was 18, as it has been. But just gonna have to wait and see, I guess. But someone did post an Instagram feed of his intro rap to "Lick It Up" earlier, and that was much shorter than it has been. You know, it's almost like a monologue at times, but it seemed to be much quicker. So.
Well, I mean, you said how many songs they showed? I don't know why they showed. Oh, okay. I'm thinking they're counting the solos as a
those aren't songs, guys. So
that's not a song.
All right. I'm actually on Setlist FM, which I don't often.
So it's really 18.
Yeah, it is 18.
So it's really 18.
Someone was asking on the board whether they play Won't Get Fooled Again right before the start of the show. No, they don't. They are playing Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin right before the show. So if you're not in your seat and you hear that song, get that beer, finish that pee, and get your ass in your seat. Actually, get your ass in front of your seat, standing up for Paul Stanley. You do not sit down at a Kiss show, which
apparently he had to tell the Finland crowd.
Well, I mean, in Reno, the bird next to me was sitting down the whole show until the last songs. And then there were two guys in front of us who were sitting down, which suited me just fine because I'm a short ass. And I always get stuck with some 6'5" guy in front of me. You don't stand. I stood up until my hip gave out, and that was at the end of the show, and then I sat down. But, that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So there we go. I mean, I guess any final thoughts on this? They end the show with "I Was Made for Loving You." That kind of makes me want to say, okay, we've discussed this show to death. Let's bring this one to a wrap so I can get this up and live and share it with all our fellow fans. So
yeah, no, it's interesting. I'm interested. I'm really interested to see Saturday's show to see if Mark's right, if it was a time restraint thing, or if this is just something different.
Yeah. But, And something else? Keith has been
time will tell.
Keith has been quiet on Facebook today, so I haven't seen any posts from him. Usually, you'll see something during the show, maybe a set list later. Who knows? Maybe he's still got stuff to show. He's busy. He does have a job to do. So, I want to see a set list. I love seeing those to see what the plan was, and then compare it, hopefully, with a recording. So.
Yeah, it was a nice tour book that he showed there. I think there's some nice pictures in there. So
yeah,
I'd have to get they sell it on Kiss Online.
And it was very interesting how he brought up about the audience too. How he thought they were very laid back and very almost like they were in their living rooms watching a show instead of being at a concert. I'm very curious to see how the difference will be when they play in Stockholm. Because I keep hearing like Stockholm is like a big hotbed for Kiss, so let's see how the difference in the crowds will be, right?
I wonder if Daniel's going to.
Yeah, I was thinking about Daniel when we were talking.
Maybe we can get him to report on the next one.
Yeah.
European correspondence on the FAQ podcast.
There you go.
Because I believe I did a test Skype with Daniel recently, Daniel, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we'd worked out our technical issues as well, and we were finally able to have a conversation. It was nice. Whatever had changed, that had become a problem. So this goes for anyone in any city who watches our show. If you have a reasonable command of English and you can, communicate somewhat, or if you speak English as well as the Americans, you're more than welcome to come on the show.
As well as the Americans.
Wow, it's a shot at 10 and knife from out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah. And then someone's going to say, well, you have seen the grammar in your Kiss album Focus, right? Yes, okay. I'll just shut up. So you're more than welcome to come on the show as our correspondent for that city. We'd love to, throughout this tour, especially if something interesting happens at one of these shows, like God knows what, they break into the Oath and I and say, this one's for you, diehards. We wouldn't be here without you. And here's one from the Elder. Not going to happen, but, we'd love to get your opinions. If it's your first show, that'd be fantastic to get you on to talk. If it's your 40th, 50th, who cares? I mean, you're Kiss fans. So if you're going to one of these shows, drop us a line on the FAQ on wherever you watch this, and do let us know. We always tape around the same time each week, but we can try and fit in with a European time frame with a Friday 9 a.m. Pacific time taping. So let's leave it there, guys, because that's a good concise episode. Just it's tour time for Kiss. It's something to talk about. So Alain, thank you very much for joining us. Surprise. And Mark and Ken and Lonnie, thank you as always for being part of this show. And for you out there for listening. We appreciate it, and we wouldn't be doing it if there wasn't anyone watching. So we'll see you next time. To the Kiss FAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the Kiss FAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.